Well, you know, I think my echinacea is finally coming up. I planted 3 packets of Burpee Seed Company echinacea, which is also known as purple coneflower, a Native American perennial that is outstanding for the building up the immune system. And I planted it because it, for that reason, to make tea, to make fresh echinacea tea, and also the fact that they come up by themselves every year, and they're finally sprouting, I believe, which is good. Oh, greetings everyone. I'm sorry, I didn't know you were there. Welcome to Progressive Discussions. This is Progressive Discussions volume 118, and it happens to be Wednesday afternoon, May the 2nd, 2012. It is more or less a little bit after 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And why you might be wondering why we're doing the show on Wednesday. Well, that is simple. I cannot be here this Saturday, Cinco de Mayo, May the 5th, because I will, weather permitting, I will attempt to do a show on location at America's newest national park, the Great Falls of Patterson, at the historic Patterson Museum, outdoors, at the annual Art Walk, which will take place between the Patterson Museum and a big building called Dolphin Mills, where all of the local artists will be there, and I suppose musicians, entertainers, they will be there, and also local Cablevision Channel 75 in that area will be there, and the Renaissance Man Can Create will be performing, and that is who I am going with and who I will be doing a video of. He will be performing at the annual Art Walk on May the 5th, this Saturday, Cinco de Mayo, and he will also be with the Juilliard trained professional classical violinist, Mr. Ben Zabel. That is right. He was a student of Juilliard. They will be doing the Art Walk in Boonton, New Jersey, on Main Street in Boonton, New Jersey, this Friday, May the 4th, 2012. But I won't be at that one. So that's why we're doing the show right now, on a Wednesday, May the 2nd, 2012. So,
one day after May Day.
Oh, that's right. That's right. May Day. Now, I'm sorry. I am with my co-host and mentor, the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman. How are you feeling today, sir?
Very good, I think.
It's damp, raining, and rather raw outside.
Yeah.
And it's a great day for soup, hot soup.
Ooh,
and, yeah, not cold soup like borscht. I'm talking about hot soup. Great day for hot soup.
Or vichyssoise.
Vichyssoise is cold potato soup,
yeah.
right? It's amazing how some of these recipes started, But we are here at the Newsletter Censored Research Center in northeastern New Jersey, and I just want to say a salute the founder of a brand new food group, which actually I quit the other food groups that I was complaining about last Saturday, and I joined my good friend Mr. Red Rooster in starting a brand new food group called Regional Food and Drink. And this is an uncensored food group, very similar to Honest Craft Beer Reviews, where only people with good taste in fine food will be a member there, and there is no censorship, and people can exercise their First Amendment rights and say whatever they feel, and they will not be censored. So I am very happy and proud to be a member of that group and to promote it. Regional Food and Drink. Of course, I also salute Honest Craft Beer Reviews, which is owned by the president, John Starodumsky, who is also at Regional Food and Drink. So good luck.
And these are at?
This is on Facebook. These are Facebook groups. I, of course, have my own group, which is the meal ticket, and when the weather is nice, because I was going to bring it today, I will bring my largest Persian club to commemorate, to honor my group, which is called the Meal Ticket, spelled M-E-E-L, which promotes circular strength training through Persian and Indian club swinging. Okay, now, I don't have any particular theme, so we are going to get right into the newspaper articles. I guess I mentioned everything that is new, everything that is going on, and that's it. Okay, so we can get right into it.
I don't think the letter writer really looked at this law, because the information is skewed and made to look like President Obama is trying to create a fascist state. The truth is that this law, H.R. 347, was sponsored by Republican Representative Tom Rooney of Florida. In his words, this is what this law is about. H.R. 347 does not affect your right to protest in any way whatsoever. It deals with fence jumpers, not protesters. By fence jumping, they're really talking about people who might access restricted areas with malicious intent.
Okay. I'm very happy, Dr. Bill, that you're reading this particular article as the first article, because there's been a lot of bad and negative propaganda pointed towards our President Barack Obama.
However, the law doesn't specifically state that.
Oh, really?
So therefore, whoever criticized the law in the first place was correct. This is probably someone, in defense of it.
Now, what the true law, does the true law on the books specify?
That's the problem with it. It could be anybody.
Well, then
it could be anyone's anyone in power's interpretation.
So it's still up in the air in terms of its definition.
Correct.
Which still means that we, Gary Noah's right, that we are under a fascist
We've been under a fascist
system.
state. Wherever you got the corporations married to the government, you got a fascist state. Ergo, Mr. Mussolini. So
Yeah.
we've been in a fascist state for who knows how long.
And that's synonymous with corporate plutocracy also, right?
Well, that's what it is.
Yeah.
When you got the married to the state, you got power. Who got all the money from the bailout?
The fat cats.
That's correct, the banky boys.
Welfare for the rich.
That's right. We didn't get nothing. I didn't get nothing. You didn't get nothing.
No, of course. Welfare for the rich is fine and dandy.
Trillions of dollars. $50 billion. It could have wiped out poverty in America. But yet trillions were thrown.
Yeah, because they all finance the campaign funds, right, for our so-called public servants in Washington. Oh, one last salute with my lucky Blackthorn imported from Ireland shillelagh, okay, weapons grade. I want to salute the resiliency of the Occupy Wall Street movement, because they, in many, how many thousands were out?
They came back yesterday, yeah.
Yeah, huge number of the protesters marched down Broadway, I believe.
And in Oakland, California.
And in
And
Oakland.
guess what the police did again?
In Oakland?
Yeah. Guess what the
Pepper?
copy boys did?
Pepper maze?
The militarized fascists, Gestapo.
The Gestapo?
Yeah.
Stormtroopers?
Stormtroopers, yeah.
What did they do?
Jackbooted.
What did they do in Oakland?
They went after them again yesterday, and in both places.
But they protest, right?
Yeah, they're just protesting.
Okay. So,
But the police, as they became more conservative and militarized, like during the Bush years, for instance, the Reagan years, the Republicans have a very difficult time in knowing the difference between dissent and traitorism.
people are really angry and fed up with the feds. Fed up, get it?
Fed up with the feds, man.
Fed up with what's going on because out of desperation, you know, the little guy, mainstream America, the middle class that have lost their jobs and, to outsourcing, of course, lost their jobs and their homes through foreclosure, are desperate. They can't find a job for months, for years. And even people with great resumes can't find a job. And people are desperate. When is an animal most dangerous? When he's backed in a corner and he has nothing left to lose. Is that accurate, Dr. Bill?
And when he sees his government continue to favor the bad boys,
that don't pay taxes.
those who brought about the problems, they get all kinds of favors.
That is correct.
And not paying fair share of taxes is one of them.
That's putting it mildly, fair share.
Yeah.
Okay, continue.
For those who think that spring is all about robins arriving,
Rockin' Robin, tweet, twiddly tweet, Rockin' Robin.
or window cleaning, or crocuses budding,
Up in the treetop all day long.
I have two words for you.
Rockin' and bobbing and singing his song. All the little birdies on Jaybird Street. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Ant sex.
You mean ants as in hormiga, the insect,
Ant sex.
or ants as in my relatives? Ant sex,
A-N-T.
A-N-T, not A-U-N-T.
Now I know what you're thinking. Those.
Oh, look who's here!
What a delivery.
Look who's here! Ronnie.
We have a delivery
Our
here.
fine German friend.
Hey, Bill, where you want all these?
Hold on.
That's going to be difficult.
There's 12 of them coming.
12 of them are coming. Let me put them
Yeah,
here.
put what you can over there.
Our delivery to our staff, our office staff of their special drinking water, because we only get the finest drinking water. You know, you think it was Beelzebub that arranged this interruption at this time? Well, maybe not. Anyway, we only supply the very finest drinking water for our office staff here at the Newsletter Censored Reset. Okay, Dr. Bill, I guess that's it with the water delivery by our German friend Ronnie, our one of our staff members. All right, where did you leave off before we were abruptly interrupted?
I left off at ant sex.
You see what controversy ant sex stirred up? We were interrupted by the great water delivery, right? Because Ronnie is going to Deutschland for 20 days on vacation to Germany, the fatherland.
3 weeks.
3 weeks, okay. Continue about
I
it.
know what you're thinking. Those tiny black creatures marching relentlessly toward the sugar bowl or streaming across the driveway are all infertile females who have no interest in sex at all.
Sounds like some women.
This is true. But when the days lengthen and the earth warms, the thoughts of a select class of ants turn to passion.
Bashing? You mean
Passion.
war? Fighting?
Passion.
Oh, passion. I thought you said bashing.
We're
Passion.
talking about sex here.
Passion.
Ant sex.
Ant sex. Do ants have very small penises?
An ant queen
Or are they well hung?
produces all the other ants in the colony.
Oh, like the bee.
The vast majority of them are sterile female workers.
Like the bees. The workers are female. How about that?
But at certain times of the year, she also produces males.
And that was really... Are the males like the drones? Well, continue.
As well as some females capable of laying eggs themselves.
Huh?
These future queens and their mates have a startling characteristic
They're winged?
not shared by other ants in the colony. People sometimes talk about being transported on the wings of love. For fertile ants, this is a literal concept. They have a pair of transparent wings on their backs, ready to bear them up out of the gloomy passages of the nest
Yeah,
and
I told
into
you.
the soft spring air.
I told you, spring. I see winged ants. That's how they spread the colonies, right? Very efficient creatures, these ants. But most importantly...
As the Bible says, look to the ant.
Well, if you want to learn about how humans should work together for a common goal, teamwork, you should look to the ant. You should look to the ant because they everything they do is for the good of the colony, right? As a whole, even if it means sacrifice of some.
In some ant species, both sexes fly. In others, only the males are winged, while the would-be queens have to crawl out of the nest and send out pheromones, chemical come-hither signals to the more widely ranging males.
Come hither? That's like a nice mild way of putting it.
The flying forms of ants are called alates, after the Latin word for wing, though the wings will be used only for the briefest of times. I imagine the alates underground before liftoff, as nervous as any cast member backstage on opening night, fidgeting and rustling their paper-crisp wings. The so-called nuptial flights are doomed in wet or windy weather, so the insects must worry about rain. But if the conditions are right, the alates, thousands upon thousands of them, rise into the clouds, flying away from the nest in search of aerial romance. Of course, for the bulk of the alates, romance proves elusive. They are eaten by birds and other predators, or fail to find a mate of the appropriate sex and species. On the bright side, alate emergencies are a bonanza for birds, which use the juicy young ants as food for their own chicks.
The food chain.
If two ants do manage to connect, the much smaller male attaches himself to the female and inseminates her, whereupon his genitalia explode and he falls to the ground, dead.
You'd be very good at romantic novels, of reciting romantic poetry and novels, you know, and maybe does forums still exist?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I tell my students that this outcome is the best one possible for the male, evolutionary speaking, since his genes will live on in the queen's offspring. But they seem skeptical.
Yeah.
The males vie with each other for access to the virgin queens,
Yeah, virgin my ass.
and they can be extremely determined. The internet recently was abuzz over a video that photographer and ant expert Alex Wild posted on his blog, and headlined it, "Male ants don't particularly care if their mate is dead and being eaten by a spider."
Sounds like some horny men. Especially the ones that bang cadavers. What is it, necrophilia?
As Wild noted, and who could argue? I can't imagine anything more unpleasant than being sucked dry by a crab spider latched into my skull.
Oh, they suck from the head? The crab spider?
Other than the same, but simultaneously being assaulted by a sex-crazed drone swarm. The swarms sometimes form enormous masses. In 2009, flying ants were so numerous that they interrupted a Champions Trophy cricket match in South Africa between Australia and New Zealand.
And the ants, they don't play around in Africa and Australia. You know, they got some venomous ants with very big, very large mandibles.
The alates from multiple colonies often all emerge at once, which helps reduce inbreeding because males and females can find mates outside their own nests.
Yeah, and they used they played a numbers game.
Maybe they used eHarmony or Match.com.
eHarmony. You know,
And
eHarmony.
their wonderful algorithms.
eHarmony is they appear to only match based on psychological and personality trait, you know, compatibility. You can't even pick the type of woman that is your type. You know, you might get some ugly, dorky woman or fat woman or some undesirable woman.
They claim they have had
That's your match.
many, maybe
The hell
millions or so of marriages.
The hell with that.
In the last,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but you know, chemistry, physical chemistry is the foundation for dating. If you
Not
don't-
in Arabian countries.
if you don't like what you see, then you will only maybe be good buddies, good
Not
friends.
in Arabian countries.
Why they fall
Or
in-
other countries that determine whom you marry.
You mean
Arranged
prearranged
marriage.
prearranged marriages? Yeah, but you know, in Indian culture, I was told by an Indian gentleman that you have like 1 year to decide.
To put her away?
You know, to decide if you're gonna stay with her or him or not, and then you can protest.
You mean after you deflower her, so that she will be no good for anybody else?
Hey, you can't force.
Culturally?
You can't force love. You know, you can't force chemistry.
I do not think those kind of cultures are interested in love.
Or it's more of a business.
We cannot be said to be interested in love when we put our women in what the hell's the thing called, the
harems.
the burqa and the one for the scarves for the head.
You mean when they're covered up?
When they're covered up, that's correct. When they are made into non-persons. Non-persons. Worse than second-class citizens.
Yeah, the women are covered.
Lower than a dog.
Yeah, the women are covered. That's true. They are covered. I mean, the strict Islamic countries, the women are covered.
Anyway, back to the ants.
Yeah, back to the ants.
This probably happens not because the ants are communicating, but because they all respond to the same environmental stimuli. What ant sex reminds us is that spring can be kind of scary, or at least sobering, particularly for non-humans. Millions of ants, millions of robin eggs, millions of flower seeds, most destined to die before they are even given fully grown, and almost all unlikely to reproduce.
Yeah, the robin egg really does not resemble the colors of a robin at all. I think it's like a light blue, very pretty light blue that they call robin's egg blue, right? Yeah, and the robin is like, what is it like? It has a red chest and like a dark brown or black. No, that's an oriole. Yeah, like a very dark feathers everywhere else. I haven't scrutinized exactly what dark color it is, but it's dark. And they're insectivorous. They have a very skillful way of eating. They after rainfall, they know that the worms come to the surface, and they hunt for worms. And when the worms stick their little pecker out, the robins grab them. But they have no fear. I mean, they come within a few feet of me, and they stare at me, and they follow me around. Robins have a lot of courage, the birds, you know, and they got the males have big pectorals, you know, they stick their chest out, and they're interesting birds, but the fact that they have no fear, you know. But anyway, continue.
All that rampant profligacy, all that heedless destruction, in The Pilgrim at Tinker Creek, Annie Dillard writes, I can like it and call it birth and regeneration, or I can play the devil's advocate and call it rank fecundity, and say that it's hell that's a poppin'. I don't know if it's hell, exactly, or if so, then the netherworld bears a striking resemblance to, well, any place with a seasonal climate.
This is a long article about ant sex, isn't it?
Regardless, the swirling multitudes of winged ants remind us that spring may be about renewal, but it's also about going for broke, about massive overproduction, and about one sliver of time when even the most earthbound creatures can break loose and head for the sky.
You tell this story with such emotion and intensity, Dr. Bill.
It's a very interesting story because the ants come to my place every year
and torment you. You get the tiny sugar ants, the ones that are attracted to sweetness.
I guess so.
You know, it's funny.
I haven't asked them.
It is very, very peculiar. Not peculiar, but very interesting that you read such an article that I had no idea you were going to read, Reverend Dr. William J. Eisman. And the reason why I say this is because I recently found a fascinating article about how to kill ants without using insecticides from ingredients that may be in your house already, natural ways of killing your ants. And I posted this article on the Newsletter Censored Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Newsletter Censored, all one word, and you can find it for you people that are homeowners and are plagued by ants in the spring and summertime. Regardless where you live in the world, you can check it out there. I'm not sure if this is a / or a / I really don't give a shit. Whatever, the slash, the slant, you know. But anyway, it's Newsletters Censored on Facebook, and the article is there among many other fascinating articles recently about Monsanto and genetically modified food and seeds. There's an article.
You need something to, like I use, where they take the stuff back to the colony
Mm-hmm.
And so the queen eats it and they all
Right.
die.
Well,
Not just something to kill the ones that are in your house.
no,
That's
you,
not-
you
that's
need.
not enough.
Well, the good thing is that many insects, like ants and cockroaches, are constantly grooming and cleaning themselves. So if their body, if the substance goes on their
Borax.
chitosan, the shell,
Borax.
yeah, the body, they bring it to the hive, and maybe others will help clean them. And as they clean themselves, the substance will rub off on other ants or roaches, and they will succumb to it. One is, I think, you take confectionery powdered sugar and mix it with boric acid, or what they call diatom powder, which is
Diatomaceous earth.
You're very smart.
Oh, yeah.
Diatomaceous earth.
That's for fleas, too.
And what happens is it desiccates the insect. They die of...
Because they have an exoskeleton.
They have an exoskeleton of chitosan, I believe. It draws all the moisture out of their bodies, and they die of desiccation, which is, I guess, rapid dehydration. But, yeah, it's there. The article is there. And there's an article where they are, in the United States, they are now growing rice with a human gene in the plant. What is this, the island of Dr. Moreau? Frankenfoods are finally here. A human gene in a rice plant?
Speaking of rice, Mr. Knoll today told everyone a natural way to lower cholesterol
Rice
with
bran?
red rice yeast
Well, that's if you have cholesterol.
instead of statin drugs.
That is true. That is true. But this is only for cholesterol that is not directly related to a high carbohydrate and sugar diet.
Well,
This is if you got a real problem, you know, where you're eating a ketogenic, low carb, high protein diet, and your LDL is still high. That's the bad cholesterol. Low density lipoproteins as opposed to high density lipoproteins. But when your LDL is high, usually your triglycerides are high, and usually that is a blood sugar problem with too much insulin and high blood sugar.
too many carbohydrates.
Right. Now, if you eat properly and you tell the truth to other people that your diet is correct, you're not lying, because many unhealthy people lie, many obese people lie, and you still have high cholesterol, then this red yeast rice extract, or is it red rice yeast?
Red rice yeast.
Red
is
rice
the actual,
yeast. Yeah,
you
red
know,
rice
the
yeast
actual
extract.
food.
Now, red rice, just like black rice in Asia, I believe red rice is often used in Asian desserts, but red rice is very rich in antioxidants and polyphenols, okay, and very high. And black rice is also very highly nutritious, but I don't know how to prepare it. Myself, I eat aged jasmine brown rice from Thailand, or I also like brown basmati rice from the Himalayas, if you can find it. But a friend of mine, who I will be doing a health talk show with, from San Francisco, California, a macrobiotic and holistic nutritional expert, Mr. Dan E. Mount of San Francisco, California, had told me that I will be much better off eating rice from a company called Lundberg of California. It's a certified organic, all types of brown rices that they grow there, and he says it's much better tasting, and it's certified organic, not to contain any pesticides sprayed, and so on and so on, from California. Lundberg. I think it's Lundberg. So I've heard of the company and I've seen it. Lundberg rice. All right, what's the next article?
Speaking of obese liars, Governor Christie of New Jersey has a way with words.
He certainly does.
He doesn't mince them usually, much to the delight of his Republican supporters and his growing YouTube audience.
Oh, God.
But the time has come to zip the lip. It's past time, actually.
The whale at the wall. Remember last week?
This columnist has admired Christie primarily for his leadership in balancing the state budget.
Is this another person, or is this the same guy from last Saturday?
No.
This is a different schmuck that admires Christie? Well, we'll mention his name, too. Go ahead, continue.
And for not backing down from the threatening demands of the State Teachers Union. But it's one thing to take a strong stand on issues, even on popular ones. It's something else again to make a name for yourself by name-calling. This is what Christie has done. He is no longer merely viewed across the Garden State in America as a principled conservative who has a knack for straight talk. He is increasingly seen as a guy who launches one-liners that belittle whatever critic walks into his field of rhetorical fire. He is no longer just a political leader, an original thinker who can boil down complicated issues into language that ordinary citizens can understand. He has become that paragon of life in a world of tweets, blogs, and video clips. He's a soundbite.
Yeah, a very large soundbite.
Does he know this? Does he want to know? This problem has grown steadily since the earliest days of Christie's governorship. But it reached a critical juncture in the last month when Christie locked horns with the state's senior Democrat, United States Senator Frank Lautenberg.
Yeah, dictatorship, not a governorship. Dictatorship.
Christie called Lautenberg a partisan hack. It's worth noting that Christie and Lautenberg are political opposites when it comes to policy.
But Christie is not a conservative Republican hack? He's not a right-wing hack?
No.
He's not partisan?
It's also worth noting that Lautenberg has served his state for several decades. First with the Port Authority, then as a U.S. Senator. He's also 88 years old and a World War II veteran, and a self-made millionaire who worked his way to success from the streets of Patterson.
That's right. I didn't know he was 88 years old. Wow.
Oh, yeah. You don't call people with that kind of background a hack. It's not right.
Why? How come nobody aggressively stands up to Chris Christie? When is a Democrat?
Because he calls them names.
When is a Democrat going to fight tooth and nail with Chris Christie?
Lautenberg has a thick skin. So it's also worth noting that Christie's hackneyed hack description did not slow him down.
Oh boy, oh boy.
In fact, it seemed to energize him more than his attendance at Lady Gaga concerts ever did. But the deeper issue here is not about whether an 88-year-old Democratic warhorse can deal with the silly, mean-spirited, and bullying playground barbs of an ambitious Republican governor who has cultivated a national voice within his party. The issue is common decency. There is a time to resort to name-calling. When Lautenberg questioned Christie's plan to restructure the state's university system, it was not a moment for name-calling. It was a moment that called for a sober, meticulous, complete answer from the governor. Lautenberg is not perfect. Some of his transit plans, for instance, need retooling, and his seemingly unflinching support of labor unions could use some moderation. But this time he raised a legitimate concern. At issue was Christie's proposal, which includes the takeover of Rutgers University campus in Camden by Rowan University. Plenty of students, some of them Christie supporters, have correctly noted that the Rowan brand hardly ranks with the Rutgers reputation on a resume. Lautenberg took the argument to another level. In a letter to U.S. Education Secretary Arne Duncan, Lautenberg wrote that suspicions have been raised about Christie's plan.
Wow. So Christie, the big blowhard windbag, strikes again.
The whale at the wall.
The whale at the wall, like the article from Saturday.
When he visited the Wailing Wall.
When he visited
Very, very good pun.
the Wailing Wall in Jerusalem. Yeah.
Play on words.
Play on words. Whale at the wall. W-H-A-L-E. Okay, now it is time for our usual break. The traditional break, not the unexpected break that happened before when our German friend, German staff member Ronnie delivered the spring water to our office. This is the typical break, which is the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman's gastronomic delight known as lunch, and we will be back with promo. All right. Oh, Dr. Bill, you sound like you're chewing your cud. You sound like a cow that's chewing on his cud.
Mm.
Yeah, you got your lips smacking.
Mm.
My God, that's why I
was a bit hungry.
That's why if I'm eating with others, I have to have some other sound going on because I can't take dead silence.
Prepare for 85 degrees Friday.
85 degrees this Friday. Wow.
It'll be one day.
Really? So fast the temperature's rising, huh?
One day.
And, that will be May the 4th.
One day.
And then Saturday will be Cinco de Mayo, of course, which is Mexico's independence from Spain, I think. Something of that nature. I think so. But anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, I gotta have some other sound going on. I can't have dead silence and eat with other people because they start smacking their lips.
Mm.
They chew, like you're
That's
chewing.
because we eat too fast.
You're chewing on your cud, man.
You're trying to get done too fast, you know?
Anyway, while the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman is
Chewing away.
partaking in his gastronomic delight known as lunch, I will do a little promo here. It's still raining outside, if you can hear it. Yeah, it started raining again. That's why I didn't bring my Persian club. I want to bring it on a dry, sunny day. One of my Persian clubs. This gentleman next to me, right here, this is a self-portrait of the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman, because the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman is a fine watercolor artist. You can view the William J. Eisenman collection by going to our newsletter censored Facebook profile. The album is there. Or you can go to Google and type in William J. Eisenman collection, and you can see the whole collection in a slideshow to steel drum Caribbean music, Caribbean steel drum music. And if you see something that you like, send Dr. Bill an email and ask him if the painting is available. He has mostly watercolor paintings, but now he has been experimenting with gouache, or is it gouache?
Mm.
Gouache? Gouache.
Gosh.
Gouache. It's a material for painting. And he's working on his third gouache painting. Now, if you see something you like, ask him if the painting is still available, if it hasn't been sold yet, and if it is, the bidding usually starts at $500 each. Make him a good offer. Make him a good, decent gift to support this work for the painting. And it is personally signed by William J. Eisenman. And you will most likely, 9 times out of 10, if you make him a good offer, you will get a free annual subscription to Newsletter Censored. Okay. And that's basically it. Now, speaking of Newsletter Censored, okay, right now I'm looking at the newest issue, volume number 119, titled "No Rules, No Orders, No Regulations" by William J. Eisenman, Ph.D. This is the backbone of our entire organization. This newsletter was founded by the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman in 1977. This is the very best way to be a part of our organization. This is the very best way to join our organization. This is the backbone of our organization. Go to newslettercensor.com, click on the printable order form, and with your gift to support this work, you will get your free annual subscription to the newsletter that started it all. It contains the 5 taboos of American life, which is politics, religion, health, human sexuality, and child rearing. There is nothing like this newsletter in the mainstream media or the mainstream press. You need Newsletter Censored to learn how to defeat a conservative. You need Newsletter Censored in the end times. Yes, we are living in the end times. It contains, besides the political analysis, it contains sometimes tidbits, which is current news topics, if there's room. But it always contains The God Project by William J. Eisenman, Doctor of Divinity, where the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman will teach you what the Bible really has to say, not what right-wing fundamentalist counterfeit Christians tell you what the Bible says. And last but not least, as an added bonus, Sexuality, a Holistic Approach. Or boner. Yeah, little joke there. Sexuality.
Very little.
Yeah. Sexuality, a Holistic Approach by William J. Eisenman, Ph.D. Okay, so this is the best way to join our organization. This is one of a kind. Okay, there's nothing like Newsletter Censored that is out there today, past, present, and most likely future. It is very, very hard-hitting and very revealing. And there is a lot of facts, a lot of factual references contained in the newsletter to support the views that are in this newsletter.
Things conservative Republicans do not honor. Facts.
Prove all things, hold fast that which is good, Thessalonians. Facts.
Yeah.
No, they don't prove all things, conservative, right-wing conservatives, because their beliefs are based on ideology, delusions. And not only are they counterfeit Christians, and Dr. Bill always proves it, but they are counterfeit family values, because the family values that they're always preaching about are not family values. Just like they are not really fiscally conservative, like you explained to me. Even though they call themselves conservatives, would conservatives piss away so much money on war and the military budget that the way right-wingers like to do?
And Wall Street.
Yeah, welfare for the rich in
Big oil companies.
Wall Street bailouts, welfare for the rich, right? Subsidies.
But the hell with the little guy. The poor guy is losing his home.
That's another fancy word for welfare for the rich, right? Subsidies? Subsidizing? Yeah.
Subsidizing those who have. That's what they do.
Right, but as soon as you subsidize those that have not, you're demonized by the right wing. But you know the sad part, Dr. Bill, is that all of this hard-hitting truth that we discuss every week, as well as on the internet, livestream.com under MegaLife21, our YouTube channel under MegaLife21, even though we continue, I have to emphasize this, because this is very important with my shillelagh. Even though we emphasize and give in fine detail the real hard-hitting truths of life every week, the stupidest, most idiotic, most retarded shows and videos on the internet continue to get millions of hits where important subjects, where people can walk away learning a lot and become enlightened, do not get many hits in comparison to the stupid garbage. I'm not even talking about the music industry with somebody famous or a celebrity. I'm talking about downright stupid videos end up getting hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of hits. You know, like you said, there was a video.
The Duck Song.
Called the Duck Song. It's the stupidest. It's like Barney the dinosaur. It's so stupid and retarded, and it got like millions of hits.
Last time I looked, over 60 million.
60 million hits for a stupid, and that shows you just how lack of common sense and intelligence the average American has become. And these are the same Americans that do not bother to go out and vote, I bet. Which is what? What percentage of the population usually does not vote for in a presidential election, or senatorial, or Congress? What percentage doesn't go to the polls?
It's always under 50%.
Under 50% do not go to the polls, right?
Mm-hmm.
Incredible.
And ones that do, they probably vote for the wrong guy.
Yeah.
A Republican.
Exactly. Because they're deluded. Now, if you go, the lemmings that vote, the middle class lemmings that vote right wing, that vote Republican, they're totally deluded. The whole world is deceived, which is from the book of Revelation.
Revelation 12:9.
The whole world is deceived. Now, if you go to Newsletter Censored, you will also see Dr. Bill for president. Yes, he's running for a third time as a progressive independent, and he will teach you how to write in a candidate, and he will also teach you that in order to take corruption out of politics, we have to take the money out of politics. And also, don't forget to go to our Mega Life 21 Hard-Hitting Truth Internet Talk Radio station, and there is a link to the Cyber Church of God, and you will see Censored on Demand Archive Classics and the God Project on Demand. Okay, and you can listen to on video. You can listen to all of the past readings of Newsletter Censored and the God Project. That is usually on the air Sundays, starting at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can listen to them as many times as you want on video, and you never miss anything with Mega Life 21 and Newsletter Censored. So let me know when you're done with your lunch.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Fini.
Okay, you are done. I will make myself useful here, and we can go back to the articles.
Well.
I tell you, we work like clockwork here at the Newsletter Censored Research Center in northeastern New Jersey.
Tea Party favorites, such as Stephen Fincher of Tennessee, were swept into Congress on a wave of anger over government-funded bailouts of banks. Now those incumbents are collecting thousands of dollars for re-election campaigns from the same Wall Street firms whose excesses they criticize.
Because these people mistakenly believe that the Wall Street bailouts for the rich were the were caused by Democrats. They were lied to, right? They believe. Was he a Republican? This guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they believe the Republican lies that the Democrats are responsible for all this, when in reality it's the right-wing Republicans that believe in
Well,
giving
they learned a lesson.
welfare to the rich.
They learned about the people who give the money to campaigns.
Yeah,
It's the big
the
boys.
two-party system.
Okay?
Yeah, these people they got elected based on the emotion of anger of the mainstream Americans, the middle class that are overtaxed, and that these are the people that voted for the Tea Party conservatives because they believe the lies.
And they have taken no significant steps to curb them or prevent future taxpayer-financed rescues. Republican freshmen have made clear their disdain for expanding government. And they openly oppose a financial regulatory overhaul enacted by Democrats in 2010, before the newcomers arrived in Washington. Their ranks include 10 Tea Party-backed freshmen on the House Financial Services Committee, part of a force that won election in a populist backlash to government spending that included emergency lending to major banks and bailout of firms including United States Auto Workers. Still, the lawmakers haven't passed, considered, or even introduced legislation to address concerns about too big to fail banks,
I had to let the cat out. Go ahead.
voiced by members of both parties, and such Federal Reserve Bank presidents as Richard Fisher of Dallas and Jeffrey Lacker of Richmond, Virginia. I haven't seen any of them putting forth legislation on breaking up the big banks or on other things that would genuinely prevent a bailout next time, said Marcus Stanley, Policy Director of Americans for Financial Reform, a Washington-based umbrella group of organizations that supported the 2010 Dodd-Frank Act and other financial regulations. Since arriving in Congress in January 2011, Tea Party-backed lawmakers have demonstrated their determination and muscle by forcing several rounds of government spending cuts through standoffs over raising the national debt ceiling, with House Speaker John Boehner of Ohio and other Republican leaders putting the government on the brink of a shutdown. Yet the anti-bailout fervor that drove the messaging of Republican candidates during the campaign cycle of 2009 and 2010 has dissipated. Now those same lawmakers are collecting money from the firms that were bailed out by President George W. Bush's $700 billion troubled assets relief program. 5 banks: J.P. Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Citigroup, Wells Fargo, and Goldman Sachs held $8.5 trillion in assets at the end of 2011, equal to 56% of the U.S. economy, according to the Federal Reserve. They took $150 billion in bailout money in 2008 and repaid it by the end of the next year. The political action committees of those institutions had distributed $169,499 through March 31 to the campaign coffers of the 10 freshmen, Tea Party-backed lawmakers on the House Financial Services Committee. Fincher, who is among them, promised as a candidate to help Main Street and ensure there would be no more Wall Street bailouts, in an advertisement that ran 98 times in the Nashville market in the run-up to his victory in a district previously held by a Democrat since 1988. There was a lot of visceral reaction to federal intervention to save Wall Street, said Mark Skoda, founder of the Memphis Tea Party, and a Fincher constituent and supporter. Stephen was very much using the language that Wall Street was problematic here and we were not going to do any more bailouts. Fincher and others receiving donations from the banking firms have declined to comment.
Really?
What are they going to say? Business as usual. We got your vote, fools.
That's what usually happens.
We
Right?
lied to you and said we weren't going to, we were going to help you guys, Main Street, instead of the big banks. But we lied.
Well, didn't Christie promise to reduce taxes for the middle class and for homeowners and all that?
Actually, I
Also?
don't know if Republicans ever actually say they're going to reduce taxes for the middle
No,
class.
they just complain that Democrats
No.
raise taxes, right?
That's correct, and they say they're going to reduce taxes. What they mean is, yes, we are going to reduce taxes on the big boys.
They just leave out the big boy. They leave out the rich, the wealthy, the fat cat. They
That's
leave
right.
out that little, it's like a disclaimer.
Yeah.
It's like a car dealer commercial where they tell you about super low financing or no money down and blah 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 and a big blowout sale, and then you have the little fine print somewhere, or you have the auctioneer, the guy talking really fast like at the end of the commercial, the disclaimer. So this is capitalism is about snake oil salesmanship,
About capitalists.
capitalists, usury.
Capitalists already have.
Yeah, it's about people. It's like the old.
So keep rewarding those who already have.
Yeah, it's like the old feudalism, the old days. They were the kings and queens ran everything, and the people were all peasants and had nothing.
That's correct.
So
They would like that back again.
nothing is new under the sun.
Our workers have gotten too uppity.
Which workers?
Our workers.
American workers?
American workers.
Uppity?
They've gotten too uppity, yes.
Why? Because they want a living wage?
That's correct.
Well, don't the fat cats want
They want more than a living wage.
They want a high
They
profit.
want it all.
So the employees that have to get their ass up at early in the morning and bust their ass for a living, they shouldn't expect a living wage?
No.
All right, continue.
Ted Nugent said he was insulted by the cancellation of his planned concert at an army post over his comments about President Obama. Commanders at the Fort Knox, Kentucky post eliminated Nugent's segment of a June concert after the rocker and conservative activist said at a recent National Rifle Association meeting that he would be, quote, dead or in jail by this time next year if Obama is reelected.
It's a threat.
Nugent told the Associated Press this week that his words were not intended as a threat against the president. To think that there's a bureaucrat in the United States Army that would consider the use or abuse of First Amendment rights in determining who is going to perform at an Army base is an insult and defiles the sacrifices of those heroes who fought for the U.S. Constitution, Bill of Rights, Nugent said. Nugent said he had received messages of support from troops and noted that the Secret Service had met with him and closed its case about the remarks. There's nothing in my spoken word or written word that could be even wildly considered by any stretch of the imagination to be a threat to anyone, he said. Asked to clarify the remarks at the NRA convention, Nugent said, "A whole bunch of us believe we are in danger of being improperly and criminally jailed. I mean criminally on the part of the government." Earlier in the week, Nugent pleaded guilty to transporting a black bear he illegally killed in Alaska, saying he was sorry for unwittingly violating the law.
Why did he try? Why did he shoot a black bear in Alaska? He should have been a real macho man and went after a big Kodiak Alaskan brown bear, to 10 foot high and over 1,000 pounds.
And wrestled him.
Yeah, with a Bowie knife. Yeah, I mean, if Nugent wants to be a real tough guy, I mean, you could find a black bear anywhere in the United States, in the woods, but you're in Alaska, man. Go for a Kodiak. You know, be a big macho hunter. Great, you know.
He told the Associated Press that he advises fellow hunters, even when you are aghast at a maniac, inexplicable, illogical law, please abide by those laws at all costs. Nugent said the prosecution in the U.S. District Court was the result of a witch hunt by federal officials over his activism. "We the people are turning up the heat," he said. "That's why I'm being singled out by certain fish and game agencies and certain U.S. attorneys." Couldn't be because he violated the law by killing the black bear and bringing it into the United States.
What? Alaska is the United States.
I know, but he transported a black bear he illegally killed.
In other words,
So I guess he couldn't kill the black bear. It was illegal to kill the black bear.
Was it out of season that he shot the black bear?
I guess so.
Because they do hunt in
But
in Alaska.
he's saying that you know, it wasn't because he killed the black bear.
Right.
It's because he's an activist.
Yeah, he's a hunting and gun ownership activist.
No, he's activist against speaking up against the government.
Well, he's one of those people that wants to shrink the government down to nothing. So pretty much.
Yeah, but that's not the point.
Is he libertarian or is he a Republican?
He's a Republican. But that's not the point.
Okay.
The point is he's blaming. Not that he killed the black bear. People are against him because of his stand. His political stand, his political ideas. Have nothing to do with the black bear.
Very
I mean, this is delusional.
extreme, radical, right? Extremist, threatening.
Well, Republicans do that all the time. That's what they do. They take the real issue and they turn it into something else, a straw man.
Well, didn't some lunatic shoot that poor congresswoman in the head in Arizona at that time?
Yeah, and Mrs. Palin put the crosshairs on her district, didn't she?
Yeah, that's with that statement she made. Sarah Nayland Palin,
Lock and load, baby.
the political moron and the bubble-headed booby, Sarah Palin, a real idiot. Maybe she's good for MILF, M-I-F.
M-I-L-F.
MILF sex videos.
What does that mean?
Her and
M-I-L-F.
and Michelle Bachmann, Paul Bachmann. MILF. What does that mean?
Uh-huh. See?
Educate me and other
I have
people.
no idea. It's brandy new and porn.
But they use it in regards to an attractive older woman,
Yeah.
and they use the word cougar also in as a nickname for an older woman who's out on the prowl,
Huh?
for younger men. Anyway, I call Sarah Palin the human slide whistle because her voice is extremely annoying and it goes high and low. You know, almost like trying to somebody scratching a chalkboard. All right, that's Sarah Nayland Palin. Every time Dr. Bill mentioned Sarah Palin's name, I have to use the slide whistle. Continue, sir.
Well, that's the end of Mr. Nugent.
That's the end of Mr. Nugent. Mr. Nugent.
Mr. Nugent.
Maybe I'll squeeze his name in.
Okay. After 5 weeks of treatment, it was finally time for Jackie Cashmere's 17 tiny patients to go home. Cashmere stood in a wooded grove outside Rockaway on Thursday night and one by one cradled the convalescents in her blue rubber-gloved hands before sending them off. I'll bet they're happy to be off that mealworm diet, she said, sounding more than a little wistful. Cashmere isn't a physician, and her patients are, well, they're not people, they're bats.
Deflatormouse.
And Cashmere, a licensed wildlife rehabilitator, has spent the past several years trying to help replenish the state's population of bats, which are essential players in nature's pest control ecosystem.
That is true.
The flying mammals have been cut down in recent years by a puzzling malady
The white fungus,
called white nose syndrome.
as opposed to brown nose syndrome that the right-wing Republicans have with corporations.
The ailment that grows on bats' snouts and wings when their immune systems are suppressed during hibernation. Officials say it is responsible for killing 90% of the Northeast's wild bats since it was discovered in New York in 2006. The syndrome was found in New Jersey in 2009. As just one example of its devastation, the number of bats that congregate in the Hibernia mine, where Cashmere released her mealworm-eating brood, has plummeted from nearly 30,000 to 750.
Wow.
So conservationists like Cashmere have taken to rescuing the animals, treating them, and returning them to the wild. They are fed once a day, given supplements of vitamins and minerals, said Cashmere, a 57-year-old federal court reporter from Alexandria, who's been a wildlife rehabilitator since 1990 and began working exclusively with bats in 2004. It was a mild case. Some had a few pinholes, others had their wings, top layers, get dry, but no major holes. But this year, state environmental officials believe things could be changing for New Jersey bats. Mick Valent, principal zoologist with the State Division of Fish and Wildlife, said this is the first time officials have not seen a decline in the bat population in the Hibernia mine. And it seems like the numbers of those infected are leveling off. He said when the syndrome first hit, the mortality rate was higher than 92%. Then the population dived again in the Hibernia mine from 1,700 to 750. But when Valent entered the mine this March, he noticed nothing had changed. The same number of bats as he'd seen during the prior hibernating season were present. State officials believe every hibernation site in the state is contaminated with the fungus that causes the syndrome. And Valent said, even though there hasn't been an uptick in the population, the fact that the numbers are leveling is an indication that things could be starting to look up for New Jersey bats. Through banding, Valent said officials noticed that at least 100 bats survived 2 hibernation seasons since white nose syndrome hit the state. 200 survived this past season. Some experts even say the bats that are infected now aren't as sick as the ones at the start of the outbreak. They say the holes that the fungus creates in an infected bat's wings are smaller and the death toll is lower. They are finding what used to be hundreds or thousands is now 10 or 20. The level of mortality isn't what it was. Many believe one of the contributing factors is the sheer decrease in numbers. Bats usually hibernate in the hundreds, but post-white nose experts say they're hibernating in small clusters. Valent said one theory holds: the fungus can't grow as well in the tinier clusters. Another theory is the decrease in population allows bats to move about the mine more freely, simply because there's more room and to hibernate in places where the fungus can't grow. But there's still cause for concern, because most bats that are affected by white nose, like New Jersey's little brown bats, only give birth to 1 pup each year.
What? One?
1 pup.
Is this common among most insect-eating bat species? Or small litter like that?
New Jersey brown bats.
New Jersey brown bats. Why are they different from brown bats anywhere else in the Northeast? 1 pup? How does this species survive with just 1 pup per year?
Excuse me. So that species has been threatened. And they say that's dangerous because bats, despite the bad reputation mythology has given them, are an integral part of the ecosystem. Just 1 bat can devour more than 1,200 insects in 1 hour.
That's just 1 hour.
That's just 1 bat.
1 bat. That's through echolocation, because their eyesight is they're extremely nearsighted, as in blind as a bat. But
they provide billions of dollars in pest management for agriculture.
Sure, mosquito control, right?
If they're not out there, then there's more insects and farmers have to use more pesticides. Even though there is currently no cure for white nose syndrome, Valent said the work Kashmir is doing is important because it allows scientists to monitor the cycle of infection and possibly find answers.
All right, I have a statement to make when you're finished with this article.
I believe we'll see some bats survive and that we'll see it bottom out. And I'm hoping next year we see an increase in population and a slow rebound. As Forest 32 and Kashmir got ready to release their tiny patients near the mouth of the Hibernia mine, they started chirping. The pair said it's because the bats know they're home. As the women watched, some go inside and others circle about, they quietly said, "Go home." But it was a bittersweet moment. The mine, where the bats hibernate each winter, contains the fungus that causes white nose syndrome. Some of those same bats they nurse back to health will hibernate in there this winter and could either die or become infected with the fungus again. You see them go through this whole episode, and then to send them back to the place where they got sick in the first place, it's not a good feeling, Kashmir said, adding that she'll just have to wait until next year and hope for the best outcome. But still, some of them aren't going to make it.
Okay, now I think, okay, I'll show it. Now, put it there. I just want to make the statement first. I feel that there might be a connection between the so-called mysterious death of bees, which are very important for pollination on the planet Earth, and the mysterious white-nose fungal infection syndrome of our bats, of the bats, insect-eating bats. Now, a fungal infection, an infection that is an epidemic with the species, I feel that the infection is killing the bats because possibly the immune system of the bats are suppressed for some reason. Now, with the bees, they found out, but of course the mainstream news media is still not coming out with it, because the mainstream news media was talking about the mysterious death of the bees the other night, and they did not bring this information out that came out with Dr. Gary No. And that is that first they said it was some parasite, but some news came out that the bees were mysteriously dying because of pesticides like Monsanto's Roundup Ready, insecticide, that were killing the bees off. Now maybe there's a connection between this suppressed immune system of the brown insect-eating bats and
because the insects have some of the pesticide in them, on them, and the bats are ingesting them, and maybe, it's affecting their immune system. Fungi
all of a sudden
are opportunists.
Right.
They attack you when your immune system is down.
Well, the fungus is always, like parasites, are always there naturally in the wild. But for an infection of any kind to take hold of a species, I feel that there's a direct correlation between a suppressed immune system and the fungal infection taking hold. So, and then I just thought about what happened with the bees. Of course, the mainstream media in America doesn't tell you the whole story, and there is a connection between the insecticide, and in this case, good old Monsanto and their Roundup insecticide is what is used.
And they're putting money into campaign coffers, so nobody ever is going to bring it up.
No. All right, I'm going to attempt to show a photo of
the little brown bats.
Little brown bats. All right, now.
It's hard to tell.
Yeah, I know it is. I don't want to get too close. But
that was pretty.
All right, I don't want to
get right about there.
Right about there.
Yeah, come up forward a little bit.
Forward a little bit.
Yeah, right about there.
I'm there.
Right about there. Yeah, okay.
All right, the cute little brown bats, and these bats are healthy or infected with the white nose fungus?
I guess they're healthy because they don't have any marks on them, do they? I don't see any marks.
The little brown bats. All right. Picture of the little brown bats. Okay, here. You have any as one last article for this week's progressive discussion? Do you have any heavy-duty political article?
Heavy-duty political?
Anything that has to do with conservatives in Congress, or anything that has to do with any other conservative? Any Mitt Romney?
You have a problem with conservatives?
Any Mitt Romney?
They're trying to save the country.
Any Mitt Romney articles? Yeah, something.
Let's see what I got here.
or perhaps a Monsanto article, or yes, I do have a problem with conservatives.
Mhm.
And rightfully so. It's got to be something there that catches your eye.
This stuff is.
Here today, gone tomorrow articles.
No, yeah, I know. We already had these
Yeah. Oh, okay.
last week, I believe. We did something
Yeah.
on these, but does this sound familiar?
What is it?
Regarding the story on pink slime, the story definitely shows the influence of social media. Yeah, I think we read this one.
Yeah. We read Pink Slime.
Yeah, we read pink
Oh,
slime. How did these get?
Yeah,
in?
you gotta file the old ones.
Yeah, the old ones are supposed to be upside down.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're supposed to be upside down,
Yeah. Well, just
not
see.
up like this.
Okay. Yeah. Just see. See if one catches your eye that it involves the whole country. The little
whole
guy.
country,
The plight of the little schmuck. The plight of the working.
Stiff.
The unemployed stiff. I can't say working stiff anymore because there are no American jobs left. So I have to say the little
I'm
non-work.
tired of the 1%
Sounds good to me.
and their Republican allies in government attacking the citizens of this country as if we were to blame for the country's economic ills,
Great article so far.
when it was their actions and their policies that got us into this mess to begin with. That is exactly what Governor Christie did in his speech last week to a group of conservatives. He blamed the people.
Oh, really?
The governor has proved where his loyalties lie. He and his allies among the 1% are engaging in a strategic effort to shift the blame of this economic crisis onto the victims, the American people, by labeling us a lazy rabble that would rather sit on our couches and collect government checks instead of working for a living.
Where are the jobs, Chris Christie? Show us the jobs.
Did we ask to lose our jobs, our homes, our pensions, our health care benefits, our pride? Christie should be propping his citizens up, not beating them down when they are desperate and struggling. This is not leadership. If the governor wants to attack the state of dependency, let him attack the corporate welfare that is running this country. The people are under attack, and it is the privileged few who are driving it.
Outstanding article. This gentleman's name, he deserves.
It was a young lady.
A young lady?
Yeah.
She's right on the money. What is her name?
Marguerite Sanson.
You mean Marguerite as in Margarita?
Marguerite.
Or Margaret? How does she spell it?
Marguerite.
Marguerite Sanson?
Sanson.
Sounds like a Latino.
Sounds
Marguerite
Italian to me. Sanson is the thing.
Sanson?
Yeah. Sanson.
As in Sansoni?
That's right. Sanson.
Marguerite Sansoni, outstanding article in the Bergen Record. Okay, she's right on the money, and it's almost comical as well as being sad that Chris Christie would blame the people that are suffering, that don't have a pot to piss in, for the bad economy. You know, meanwhile you have trillions that went to welfare for the rich, corporate bailouts, Wall Street bailouts. You have trillions that are wasted in the military budget, and the wars where they found no weapons of mass destruction. It's funny that Chris Christie would blame people for being lazy because they're not working. Meanwhile, Chris Christie has a high-paying job and gets everything. He gets a lot of freebies with him being governor, right? You know,
sure.
I mean, he can afford the best of everything.
Oh, sure.
And I'm sure he is not. He does not miss too many meals, obviously. And you know, they always accuse Americans that are in financial trouble for being lazy, but where are the jobs? He doesn't know what it's like. The jobs are not out there. They're outsourced.
Yeah, but you see, they have to blame somebody. They're not going to blame the big boys who cause all the problems.
Well, you mean the big boys that finance their re-election campaigns. Yeah. But people are...
It's the big boys who cause all the problems, okay? And it's simple as that.
Yeah, and
I don't care whose money or who gets their money.
And
That's the truth of the matter.
And is it the people's problem? Is it the people's fault, rather, that employers demand, you know, many years of experience along with credentials and education, and they want everything? They want the world's most perfect employees, and there's only so many people with resumes that great that are applying for every job that's out there. And nobody hires entry-level employees anymore. Everybody has to be like the ultimate employee just to get a job. You know, not even a high-paying...
Well, we have a big problem.
High-paying career. Yeah.
The problem is that it was folly for us to pin our hopes on the private sector.
Right. Privatization.
North Dakota has its own state bank.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we need. We do not want these private firms on Wall Street like Goldman Sachs and this, that, and the other thing. We don't have to do things that way.
Locally, things should be supplied like it was
well, we don't have to.
In the past.
Why should we, as a country, be dependent on a private employer such as GE
that doesn't pay taxes?
Who doesn't pay taxes, who outsources jobs, and the companies, you know, setting up companies overseas and etc., and avoiding taxes and all that other stuff. Why isn't there another way for us to provide jobs in the economy, since we are dependent upon jobs?
Yeah, true.
Why
True.
do we need to be dependent upon crooks?
The private sector always fails,
Yes.
Statistically. And I heard.
Not only fails, but they are out for their own. They're not interested in the community, the country, or whatever. Big corporations, multinationals, have no allegiance to any country.
No.
Patriotism is not a product of them.
No, it's the bottom line.
That's correct.
I heard Chris Christie once again visited Governor Walker to help out.
Scott Walker.
Was it Wisconsin?
Scott Walker in Wisconsin.
Chris Christie spends more time outside of New Jersey than he does in.
Well, Scott Walker has been gathering money by the tens of millions of dollars from outside of his state. All the big boys putting money into his campaign against the recall, and he's got a criminal defense fund. So it looks like he might be having some big troubles. Not only the recall and stuff, but criminal problems.
So all the famous conservatives of the country have to go and help him?
Yes,
and
exactly.
Christie is not too shy about taking a plane to another state to help out a fellow Republican.
That's exactly right, because if they can get it done in Wisconsin, it'll be visiting your town very shortly.
I think Christie does it because he wants FaceTime and photo opportunities, and because he's grooming himself for a future political career in perhaps in Washington.
Well, according to his statement the other day, he's probably now thinking about becoming the running mate with Mr. Mitster.
You know, my friend Dan E. Mount of San Francisco, one of my holistic and primary macrobiotic consultants, he knows all about Chris Christie all the way out in San Francisco. So this Chris Christie is traveling for a reason, because he's known.
That's what he's trying to do. Is getting, if he wants to be VP, he's got to, prove that he's international. He's familiar with the country, all this other bullshit. Not just Jersey. Not just Jersey,
yeah. And of course, he's not really that well loved in San Francisco, because San Francisco, thank God, they are very progressive. That area, okay, all right, okay. Salute to San Francisco.
Salute.
Okay, now, that's it. Thank you for joining us for the 118th Progressive Discussions. And I won't be seeing you this weekend, this Saturday, so I will see you the following Saturday. And, of course, make sure you file the old articles in their proper place, Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman. And that's about it. Thank you for joining us. You like my Marlin t-shirt that my sister brought me from the Florida Keys? The Marlin fish from the Florida Keys. See?
I say at the bottom.
I got a marlin in the back, I think, right?
Yeah.
Is there a marlin in the back?
And a big moon.
Yeah, not Marlin Perkins. But anyway, oh, you want me to show
no.
when it's done, right?
Well, of course.
Okay, because the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman is working.
The painting is nothing until it's done.
He's working on his third gouache or gouache. Gouache painting, and it is this time it's sort of erotica, sort of.
What?
Well, it's a nude lady.
I thought it was a fairy nymph.
Fairy nymphs are usually naked?
Why, certainly.
Oh yeah, what are they going to wear?
There's nothing evil about being naked.
Well, they don't feel cold, right? Fairy nymphs, so they don't.
Adam and Eve were created naked.
Well, if nudity is supposed to be, if nudity is supposed to be a situation where people are not affected by it, either
like
way,
in a nudist camp.
Either way, then how does one get aroused to have sexual intercourse if nudity is just like another face in the crowd?
It would involve touch. It would involve the urge too.
The urge?
But we don't walk around with the urge.
Some people walk around
all day long.
No, that would be
unless you're starved.
Or an overdose of Cialis or Viagra.
Yeah. 4-hour erection.
That's not good. A 4-hour erection? Especially if you're like Kramer was on that Seinfeld episode where he decided...
What was that with Kramer as the chicken? The roasted chicken or turkey had Kramer's head on it. On Facebook.
Oh,
what the hell was that?
That was from an episode that Newman was deprived of food for some reason, and Kramer put butter in his jacuzzi, and there was a strong butter aroma coming from Kramer's apartment, and because Newman was starving, I don't know if Newman was on a diet or what, but he was looking at Kramer and he was having an illusion that Kramer was a big turkey. And then he tried to eat Kramer. He tried to attack him with a fork, and try to, something like that. No, Kramer had a low sperm count in the episode last night. It's an old episode, of course, and his doctor recommended boxer shorts instead of briefs. And then Kramer couldn't stand the boxer shorts because they kept on twisting, and and then he decided to go au naturale with no underwear at all, And so Jerry says, "Oh my God, Elaine, don't you see what this means? There's nothing is standing between us and Kramer but a thin layer of gabardine, a thin layer of gabardine." You know, and yeah, that's what it reminded me of. But anyway, say so long to these people.
Hasta la vista, people.